frankly, we are committing a worse offense against our young people, particularly young students of color, than was committed against them in 1968 or even pre-1954. When students in East LA walked out of their high schools in 1968 in protest to the quality of education they were receiving, the kind of treatment they were receiving, when hundreds of African Americans rose up in pre-1954 and demanded greater access, the arguments that we were having then and that we're having now are largely the same. They are about the centrality and the importance of access to quality, of access to coursework that challenges young people and that encourages them to reach for the highest in academic ideals. But I think perhaps the most important piece about all of this is that if we fail to address these issues head on, what we're really doing is we're limiting, in some really awfully scary ways, our own ability as a nation to progress. You heard Delia talk about the sheer numbers that we're talking about. The reality is, if we do not adequately prepare our nation's, all of our nation's high school students, but in particular if we don't adequately prepare students of color for college and for work and for life, the reality is that those young people who are going to very shortly move into shouldering the mantle of leadership, they're going to be underprepared. And so when you think about who's going to wield the levers of democracy, who is going to control and operate our economic machinery, who's going to make the decisions that's going to guarantee the comfort, the peace, and prosperity of you and I and our parents and our children's for years to come, it is absolutely essential that we make sure all of our children in high school today are adequately prepared for college and for work and for life. So again, I want to thank all of our panelists, and I want to thank all of you for staying with us this long. What I'd like to do now is to invite all of you, if you so have, to ask questions of our panelists. But I'd like to start by asking just a couple of questions of my own. And I want to start with, you talked about, I believe you said 23 or 24 states so far are participating in this effort. But I'm wondering how far along you think we are in getting the rest of the country on board, and to the degree that you think we're not as far along as we should be, what do you see as being the sort of primary obstacle?
That's a great question. There are 34 states that are in the network, and there are, I think I mentioned, 20 states have college and career-ready graduation requirements. And those in particular, to have college and career-ready graduation requirements where you tell every school in your state that kids have to have particular courses in order to graduate, and actually everything everybody said before about ensuring that those courses are actually college-ready and rigorous and all of that is absolutely an issue. But for a number of those states in particular, those are states I worry about sort of very immediately, because states gave themselves a pretty good lead-in time before those graduation requirements kicked in. They will begin to kick in a big way in 2010, 11, 12. Now, I think there's a lot of commitment among those 34 states, and particularly those 20 that have made that big leap, that have told every school in their state they have to do this for all kids. And they've mostly done it in a way that included their K-12, higher ed, and their business communities at the state level. Lots of policy commitment at the state level among those key policymakers. In a lot of those places, lots of legislative support too. I worry a lot about how that's filtering down at the school and district level, and the amount of support there is for these very, very high standards and high expectations. And in some ways, you take a state like Arkansas, which has just decided in a huge way to go from where they were to saying, no, all kids, 4 years of math, algebra 2 and beyond, 4 years of English, 3 years of life science, no excuses, all kids. They had a very good communications campaign around that effort, and at some point very soon here, the rubber is going to meet the road. So I do worry about the support, and I think there's going to be, as we move forward and things start to get tight, that there may be pushback for the wrong reasons, right? That not all kids will necessarily at the very beginning sort of meet those expectations. And then what happens? Do parents and students and teachers say, no, these are the right expectations, we can do this? How do we make sure everyone has the support they need to do this? And I think, frankly, that's where grassroots organizations and community organizations are really, really going to be important in a way that they maybe haven't been in getting the policy in place. So I think that's really the next step in ensuring that sort of this implementation happens, that it happens right, and that kids and teachers are supported in the way they need to be to get all kids there.
Thank you.